When my cousin spread rumors that I slept my way to the top, I didn't argue, cry, or explain myself. I just smiled because someday, she'd have to come to me for help. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Gianna. I'm 29 years old, and for most of my life, I believed hard work and kindness could protect you from betrayal. I was wrong. I've always been the responsible one in my family, the one who planned, who saved, who didn't jump from one job to another like the others. My cousin Lena was the opposite. She was loud, funny, and effortlessly charming, the kind of person everyone loved instantly. Growing up, I admired her confidence. But as we got older, I started noticing the cracks. She had a habit of using people, friends, co-workers, even family to get ahead. And when things fell apart, she always played the victim. Still, when she called me crying one night about losing her job, I couldn't say no. She begged me to help her get a position at my PR firm. I was managing the events team at the time, not powerful, but trusted enough to recommend new hires. So I did. I fixed her resume, coached her for interviews, and even spoke to HR personally. Within a month, she was hired. At first, I was happy. We had lunch together, laughed during meetings, and it felt nice having family around. But after a few weeks, she began changing, subtle at first. She'd make comments like, "You're so lucky your boss likes you so much," or "You have such an easy time getting clients to agree with you." Then, she started asking personal questions: who I was dating, whether my boss ever complimented me, whether I used my looks to get ahead. I laughed it off. I thought she was joking. Until the whispers started. It began with side glances in the break room, then the fake smiles, then the cold silence in meetings. One day my assistant avoided eye contact when I asked her to take minutes. Something was off. The truth came crashing in during our quarterly review. My department head called me into his office, a frown on his face. "Gianna," he said, "I wanted to discuss something sensitive." He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "There are rumors going around that your promotion last quarter wasn't entirely professional." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He looked uncomfortable. "That you might have been involved with one of the clients. I know it's ridiculous, but you should know people are talking." I sat there frozen. My chest tightened. "Who said that?" He sighed. "It doesn't matter. Just keep your head down for now, okay?" But it did matter. Because later that evening, I found out who started it. It was Lena. My friend Maya from HR told me she overheard Lena at lunch, saying Gianna's always had men wrapped around her finger. She knows how to get what she wants. I felt like my lungs had collapsed. This was family. The same cousin I helped. The same girl who'd sworn she wanted to learn from me. That night, I drove to her apartment, shaking with anger. She opened the door with a smirk. "Wow, you look tense," she said. "Everything okay at work?" "You know damn well what you did," I said. "Why are you spreading lies about me?" She tilted her head, fake innocence dripping from her voice. "Lies? I just told people you were ambitious. They drew their own conclusions." I wanted to scream. Instead, I whispered, "You don't realize what you've done." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "If you're really that good, a few rumors shouldn't hurt you." But they did. In the following months, I became the office ghost. People avoided partnering with me. Projects I'd led were reassigned. Clients suddenly stopped calling. Even my boss, the one who'd once trusted me completely, grew distant. Meanwhile, Lena flourished. She took over one of my key projects. She even started going to events I used to manage, pretending she was the one who built those client relationships. The final blow came during a company retreat. One of the executives made a joke during dinner: "Gianna's probably got a way of convincing anyone to say yes." Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. That night, I packed my bag early and drove home. I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every smile, every fake compliment, every warning I'd ignored. I realized something: no matter how much you give, some people only see you as a ladder. 2 weeks later, I resigned. No goodbye emails. No explanation. Just silence. People thought I'd run away in shame. But I wasn't running. I was rebuilding. I moved to another city. Started consulting privately. I worked 14-hour days, signed small clients, built my portfolio from scratch. It was slow at first, painful even, but I kept going. Within 2 years, I founded my own PR agency, Elevate Strategies. It was small but sharp, with a reputation for rescuing broken brands and rebuilding their image. Ironically, I became known for fixing reputations, the very thing mine had been destroyed by. Then one morning, while checking new partnership requests, I froze. Right there, in my inbox, was a familiar name. Lena Andrews, Corporate Relations, Vantage PR. Attached was a proposal they wanted Elevate Strategies to partner with them on a new luxury campaign. I stared at the screen for a long time, my lips curling into a slow smile. The same cousin who once ruined my career was now asking for my help. And she didn't even realize who she was emailing. I leaned back in my chair, heart steady. For 2 years, I'd imagined what I'd say if I ever saw her again. Now I wouldn't have to imagine anymore. Because for the first time, I held the power. And I intended to use it not to destroy her, but to remind her exactly who she'd tried to bury. When I opened Lena's email, my first instinct was laughter. The kind that starts quiet low in your chest until it burns behind your teeth. 2 years ago, I was the desperate one, packing my things in shame while whispers followed me down every hallway. Now, the woman who replaced me was asking for my agency's help. I didn't reply right away. No, I let her wait. In business, silence is power. A week later, another email came. Hi, just following up on the partnership proposal. We'd love to collaborate. Still, I said nothing. Then the third one arrived, longer, almost pleading. We believe Elevate Strategies would be perfect for our client. Please let us know if you're available to discuss. That was when I finally replied. Hi Lena, thank you for reaching out. I'm open to a meeting next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Best, Gianna. No title, no hint, just my name. When Wednesday came, I wore a soft gray suit, simple, elegant, deliberate. My assistant, Naomi, arranged the meeting room, glass walls, fresh orchids, the company's logo glowing behind me like a crown. At exactly 10, the door opened. Lena walked in, laughing with one of her junior associates. Her eyes scanned the room before landing on me. She froze. For a second, all the color drained from her face. Gianna, she whispered. I smiled, polite, calm, controlled. Lena, it's been a while. Her voice cracked. I didn't realize you were the founder of Elevate. Oh, it's fine, I said lightly. We rebranded a few months ago. Please sit. The air between us thickened as I slid the proposal across the table. So, you wanted to discuss a partnership. Her associate started talking something about campaign goals, projected reach, client expectations. But Lena barely heard him. She kept glancing at me like she was still trying to understand what was happening. When her turn came to speak, her voice trembled. We'd love for your agency to handle the influencer segment of our campaign. Our last agency underperformed, and your reputation for crisis management is outstanding. I held her gaze. Crisis management? Yes. I've had some practice. She blinked, realizing the double meaning. After the meeting, she tried to linger, the same fake smile, the same nervous laugh I'd seen before. You've really come a long way, Gianna. I always knew you'd do well. I stood, collecting my notes. Did you? Because I remember you saying success came easy to me for other reasons. Her face stiffened. I didn't mean. Oh, you did, I said softly. You just didn't think I'd survive long enough to remind you. For a moment, her mask cracked. I could see the panic beneath the surface, that fragile mix of guilt and fear. But I wasn't here to yell. I wasn't here to embarrass her. I was here to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. So I shook her hand. We'll take the campaign, I said. My assistant will send over the terms by tomorrow. When she left, Naomi walked in, grinning. That was her, wasn't it? I nodded. And you're really going to work with her? Oh, absolutely, I said, eyes cold. But on my terms. That night, I rewrote the contract personally. Clause 7, all project communications must go through Elevate's lead director, Gianna Monroe. Clause 9, all creative sign-offs will require Elevate's executive approval. In other words, Lena would be working directly under me, and every decision she made would pass through my hands. Over the next few weeks, the project began. At first, she pretended everything was fine. She sent professional emails, CC'd her team, even threw in compliments. But as deadlines tightened, cracks began to show. She'd call, frazzled. Gianna, we need those analytics by tomorrow. I'd reply calmly, of course, Lena. But you missed 2 data forms last week, my team can't proceed without them. Or during a meeting, Gianna, the client wants an early preview. Then the client should have approved the budget, I'd answer sweetly. Until then, no previews. Every time she tried to rush me, I pushed back, not rudely, just firmly, professionally. Exactly how she used to treat me when she took over my projects years ago. Except now, she couldn't gossip her way out of accountability. Every mistake she made was visible, every shortcut exposed. By the third month, her boss, the same department head who'd once laughed at those rumors, requested a meeting. He wanted answers for the campaign delays. I sat in on the call, quiet, poised, listening. Lena stumbled through excuses. There's been some miscommunication with Elevate. I cut in smoothly. Actually, everything is documented in our shared workspace. I can resend the logs if you'd like. He frowned. Please do. After the call, she messaged me privately. Lena, you're really enjoying this, aren't you? Me just doing my job. You should try it sometime. She didn't reply. A few days later, she showed up at my office unannounced, pale, desperate. Gianna, please, she said, voice shaking. If this campaign fails, I'll lose my position. I didn't know you'd. Didn't know I'd what? I interrupted quietly. That I'd rebuild myself? That I'd be in a place you couldn't ruin. Tears filled her eyes. I made a mistake. I was jealous, okay? You had everything: confidence, success, respect. I wanted to feel like I was winning too. I studied her face, the same cousin I'd once shared secrets with, the same girl who destroyed my reputation without blinking. Do you know what jealousy taught me, Lena? I said softly. That people don't envy what they hate. They envy what they can't become. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the low hum of my office lights. Finally, I leaned forward. I'm not going to ruin you. I'm not like you. But you're going to finish this campaign, perfectly, under my direction. And when it succeeds, you're going to stand in front of your boss and thank Elevate publicly. She looked stunned. Why? Because that, I said, smiling faintly, is how redemption begins and revenge ends. She left in silence. Later that week, during a press briefing, Lena stood at the podium beside me and announced the campaign's success. Cameras flashed, reporters clapped, and when she turned toward me, her voice trembled slightly. Special thanks to Gianna Monroe and the Elevate Strategies team, she said. Their leadership made this possible. I smiled for the cameras, calm, radiant, victorious. For years, she had stolen my voice. Now she was using hers to praise me. And that, I thought, was justice. 2 weeks after the campaign's launch, my office looked like a scene from a celebration I never threw. Flower arrangements lined the window ledge, each with a neat white card: congratulations on the record-breaking campaign. I had seen my name in 3 business journals that morning. One of them called me the strategist who turned humiliation into empire. I laughed when I read it, not out of pride, but disbelief. 3 years ago, I was sitting in my apartment floor, surrounded by unpaid bills and shattered confidence, wondering if the rumors would ever die. Now, the same people who once avoided me wanted to shake my hand. Still, I wasn't done. Lena hadn't reached out since the press conference. Not a call, not a message, nothing. But I knew that silence, the kind that follows when someone realizes their entire ladder was built on lies. A week later, I got an email from her company's HR department. They were conducting an internal review following management performance concerns. Attached to the thread was a copy of my statement: objective, professional, just the truth. No malice. No embellishment. She was suspended by the end of the week. Naomi knocked gently on my door. You heard? I nodded. I did. You going to reach out? No, I said simply. She built that ending herself. I leaned back in my chair, staring out the glass wall overlooking the city. Somewhere, beneath the noise of traffic and ambition, was the same girl who once cried in her car after being called names she didn't deserve. That version of me had wanted an apology. This one didn't need it. 3 months later, Elevate was invited to the National Women in Business Summit. I'd been chosen as the keynote speaker. When I walked onto that stage, under the glare of warm lights and applause, I paused, letting the moment breathe. 3 years ago, I learned that sometimes the worst betrayal doesn't come from enemies, it comes from people who smiled in your family photos. The crowd quieted. They'll tell your story wrong. They'll paint you with their insecurities and call it truth. But when the world doubts you, the only answer worth giving is proof. A few heads nodded. A few hands clapped quietly. And sometimes, I added, letting a small smile curve across my lips, the people who buried you forget that you were a seed. The applause that followed was thunderous. When I stepped off the stage, a woman approached me. Early 30s, brown hair tied in a low bun, nervous smile. Gianna Monroe, she asked. Yes. I'm Lena's assistant. She wanted me to give you this. She handed me an envelope, cream-colored, neat handwriting. No perfume. No dramatic underlining. Just my name. In my car later, I opened it. Gianna. I lost my job, my reputation, and the friends who used to feed me stories. I thought if I ruined you, I'd feel powerful. But watching you rise and seeing how you treated me when you could have destroyed me changed something. I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted you to know I finally see the difference between envy and admiration. I was always too small to admit it. Lena. I sat there for a long time, watching the city lights flicker across my dashboard. There was no joy in her downfall, no gloating satisfaction, just a quiet peace. Forgiveness wasn't about letting her off the hook, it was about unhooking myself from the anger. I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. Then I smiled to myself, a small, genuine curve of relief. Months later, I found myself in front of a familiar building, my old workplace, where the rumors had begun. The office had been sold and converted into shared workspaces. I walked through the lobby, just to see. A young woman at the reception desk smiled. "Good afternoon. Are you here for a booking?" "No," I said softly. "Just passing through." The walls were freshly painted, the old logo replaced. Time had erased the shadows of that place, and somehow, so had I. I stood for a while, taking in the hum of new beginnings. Then I left, feeling lighter than I had in years. Outside, the wind brushed my hair across my face. I caught my reflection in the glass door, calm, confident, whole. That was the real revenge. Not Lena's downfall. Not the applause. Just peace. Back at the office, Naomi peeked in with her usual grin. "You've got a meeting with the new client in 5, boss." I chuckled. "The one from New York?" "Yep. They said they specifically requested you. Something about your reputation for resilience." I smiled, standing to grab my blazer. Let's give them what they came for. As I stepped out of my office, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Proud of you. You deserved every bit of this." I didn't need to guess who it was. And I didn't need to reply. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from conversation. It comes from who you become after the storm. That night, as I closed my laptop and stared at the city skyline glowing against the glass, I whispered something I'd once promised myself. "They'll remember your silence more than they ever remembered their words." And with that, I turned off the lights, leaving behind the ghost of every version of me that had ever doubted her own power. Gianna Monroe had won, not by revenge, not by hate, but by becoming someone no rumor could destroy.